voices that matter, and stories that shift perspective. And today I have a special guest. Her name is Sara. I'm going to ask her a lot of questions and she'll get a chance to introduce herself. And today we're going to be talking about mental health in the Caribbean versus in America, because we always think Americans have this open policy where you can discuss mental health issues. And of course, in Jamaica, we always said, no man, snap out of it. So we want to know if there are any similarities. We want to know if is it really that we're the only ones that are hard on the younger generation when it comes to mental health. So Sara, what your name?
My name is Sara Joan. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri, born and raised in the Midwest.
Wicked.
Yep.
So what do you do?
I am a retail manager, so currently working for Aldi as a store manager.
Yeah, but now that she told me earlier, what your degrees them, Ina?
I have 2 bachelor's degrees, one in cultural anthropology and one in religious studies.
And by the way, this is a sit down. I know it feels like an interview, but you can feel to ask the questions as well.
Okay.
So it's kind of relaxed. So you don't have to go with the army sit down, although me I do it
That's
too.
me.
But I the cheers them. Guys, we are at Odwayne's house. Big up Slim for setting up this beautiful podcast area.
Yes.
So what is the degree in anthropology? What is that about?
Anthropology is honestly just the study of people. So it's divided up into cultural anthropology. Archaeology is a part of that. So ancient cultures and ancient people would fall under archaeology. Cultural anthropology kind of spans over that. It's just people and their cultures and kind of looking at what has made people in today's society be the way that they are.
So question.
Yeah.
In Jamaica or in the Caribbean, when a child goes to their parent and they say, Mom, I'm depressed, we often hear, get over it, or you're being ungrateful, or what are you depressed for? I provide everything for you. And there's a stigma surrounding mental illness. We're getting better. I'm not going to label my country because me not hear my dirty laundry I road. But we're getting better. But in the Caribbean community, there is still a stigma surrounding mental illness. So, but in a Caucasian household or in an American household, when a child comes to their parent and say, I'm depressed, is it true that they get daffodils and white flowers, or what happens?
Honestly, in today's world, as far as parents bringing up their children, it has become more of a mindset of talking through your feelings. Why are you feeling that way? What has caused you to feel this way? Kind of working through what that feeling is and what that emotion is, rather than just saying, you're fine, you're not bleeding, go outside and play. And I think I have a lot of friends that have younger children. I think that there's a time and a place for each reaction, and that kind of seems to be how they treat and react to their kids bringing those things to them.
So is that what you call soft parenting?
I think soft parenting, I feel like, has gone all the way to the extreme of just talking through the emotions, there not being any repercussions for any kind of actions as far as what the emotions are, at least as far as like mainstream look at what soft parenting is. And there's definitely a divide, I would say, within the country.
So is it within the country?
Yeah.
You mean the entire, how much states US have? 50?
50 states.
50 states. So there's a divide in the entire United States where what is so okay. So soft parenting is not supposed to be void of repercussions or what you call it now, results or for your bad actions. Is that what it is?
A lot of what has become mainstream as far as how it's looked at is that there's a lack of discipline. From what I've experienced and seen, I think that the disciplinary side of it, it's just far less than what it used to be. So when I was raised, there weren't really questions asked. Like if you acted up or you did something, then you were disciplined. There was no why
How
did
were
you
you
do
disciplined?
that? I was spanked.
Really?
Yeah.
She was spanked.
Spanked. If I said anything disrespectful to my parents, is smack on the mouth, wash your mouth out with soap. Oh yeah.
So was it like a this or like a
It was more like, it sounds awful, but like a backhand, like a really quick, like pat right on the mouth. Yeah.
That's not so that's not
Yeah.
so far off. I mean, we would get a whopping and
Yeah.
save and accept any form of child abuse. So we're talking what we
Yeah.
would consider acceptable discipline, although the
Absolutely.
lines kind of change.
Yeah.
But see, of course, there are clear instances of child abuse. So we're not we are not romanticizing child abuse. We're just talking about the different ways that we discipline.
Yeah.
So
I mean, my mom had a switch, my dad had a belt. So, it just, it would depend on the situation on how we were disciplined, but yeah.
all right, so wait, hold on. So am I understanding that discipline, and I'm going to use America, it's a very broad term because I know you have different cultures within America. No, I mean, it's an entire continent.
Yeah.
So of course you have microcultures within the continent.
Yeah.
But is it that there's not much of a difference between how we would discipline in Jamaica versus, because we would get a whooping,
Yeah.
right? We would get the belt, the switch,
Yeah.
the backhand, the front hand, the thump, the drape,
Right.
everything that any means necessary
Yeah.
to get your child in order. Do you guys experience that same thing?
I think that's where I'm talking about like the divide, and you're talking like kind of microcultures. Within like bigger cities that tend to be more on like an soft parenting style. Within bigger cities, you don't see a lot of that. A lot of times because it's very quick that a school district will call Child Protective Services, which is called something else now, DFS. It's changed so many times what it's called or what it's been called. But you see it less, I feel like, in bigger cities where they put a big emphasis on that. But you go more small rural towns and you're definitely going to come across children who are spanked more.
So is it that...
And that I'm saying coming from a family that is all over as far as where they live, and seeing my cousins and how they were raised, and also my cousins and how they're raising their kids. So I see a broad spectrum of it.
I mean, that is interesting to find out. I was not expecting that, honestly. So, within the smaller, little microcultures or micro groups, you
Yeah.
still have that same level of discipline where there is physical repercussions
Yeah.
for anything that you have been doing that you're not supposed to do, or if you have been rude and stuff like that. So would you say that it is a misconception, right? Would you say that it is a misconception that people think that Americans or a certain group of Americans spoil their kids or go easy on their kids? Is that a social media exaggeration, or is there some truth to that? And once I pass this, we'll get back to the mental health part, because this part is very interesting.
I would definitely say it is exaggerated on social media, but it very much is real. It's
Okay.
a very real thing. And to the extent that even when I was in a relationship where my partner had kids, kind of where does that line, where is it drawn? And then also like seeing my friends and how they're raising their kids and the issues that they're having with, disciplinary action and behavioral issues.
Okay, so now that we know that we're not so far apart in terms of how we deal with our kids, back to the mental health discussion. Now, where I grew up in Jamaica and in the Caribbean, there is a very strong stigma. So my official diagnosis is borderline personality disorder. When I first started to self-cut, the first thing they felt was embarrassment. And then the next thing is demon possession. You are demon possessed. And then the next thing is we have to pray about it and knock it out of you and get over it and what you depressed for. You're being ungrateful and stuff like that. So there's a strong stigma associated with mental illness, whether it is schizophrenia, whether it is depression, anxiety. There's a stigma of embarrassment and that you shouldn't talk about it, and that any illness having to do with the mind means that you're mad, you're going off your rockers. Do you have that same stigma as an American?
Okay, so I'm going to ask a question before I answer that. Do you feel like that mindset in Jamaica is based the majority of it off of like certain religious beliefs?
Yes.
Okay.
You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Yes. So,
yeah. So I feel like in America, once again, it's no secret that America is very divided as far as beliefs go. You know,
Right.
Just to keep it within the two, you know, you have
diverse. Divided is such
Yes.
an aggressive word.
That is an aggressive word. That is a much better word. Yes. So you have the contrast between like being conservative and being liberal. So, and just for simplicity's sake, I will refer to it as that without getting political at all. On the conservative side, you tend to have individuals that are very grounded in their faith. And hold to that very strongly. And the mental health side of it, you definitely see people that feel that it's just you not having the proper faith or not having the right faith or not being strong enough in your faith, and that's why you're having behavioral health issues. That has come a long way since I was growing up. When I was younger, that was the largest emphasis growing up in the church, that you weren't right in your faith. And that's why you were having mental health issues. The church in America in general, broad generalization, in general has come a long way with recognizing that mental health in individuals is backed by, you know, trauma that they've had, how they were raised, different situations that they grew up in. So it's come a long way. Conversely, on the more liberal side, you have individuals that are very open-minded, you know, and have looked at kind of the trauma and the behavioral issues and how an individual was raised much more open-mindedly throughout the past few years. So that they're much more open and understanding of anybody that has a mental health issue and will definitely kind of concede to certain sides of it.
I mean, which side do you think is more?
The understanding of people's traumas has definitely become more prominent.
Okay. I mean,
I think that's also played a large part with social media. It's put an emphasis and a spotlight on that, on people's traumas and what they've gone through in their life and how that's caused mental health issues.
so before social media, it wasn't as we think it is, where okay, we can be open. There's no stigma.
Definitely not.
Really. So that is absolutely that's turning everything that I thought on bottom
Good.
up. Because
In a way.
because when I moved to America, that was the first time I didn't feel ashamed of being mentally ill. I told my co-worker friend, I have a co-worker, her name is Michaela Butler. She's going to hate that I call her name on the podcast. We were working together at Blue Scope Buildings, and her just being my co-worker, she's Caucasian as well. She kind of matriculated me into the culture, just living in Missouri and just being here in Kansas City. And then I remember one day I was having like a mental health episode, and I said, I think my anxiety is acting up. And she's like, oh, cool. Which therapist do you go to? I'm like, you don't think I'm weird?
Right.
In my mind, I'm saying that. She's like, yeah, tell me, what therapist do you go to? I'm like, well, I don't have one. Oh, you should get one.
Yeah.
And that was it. So when I moved here, it was like a different feeling for me as opposed to Jamaica. Not talking bad about my country. I love Jamaica. But it was a different feeling for me to be in an environment where mental illness, they're more focused on the treatment of it rather than frowning upon it. So to walk me through what American parents do now, and of course you can't speak for everybody, but you can represent, a fairly large group. When a child comes to the parent and say, Mom, I'm depressed, Mom, I'm having anxiety, like what does that look like? I know what it looks like for Jamaicans, majority, but we're changing. But what does it look like for you guys?
Yeah. A lot of times I have a lot of friends and family that have a lot of children that are in school. I have siblings myself that are 5 years old. In general, how it's addressed or even brought to light usually is through schools. Like the teachers will bring it to the parents and say, hey, little John said that he's feeling anxious today. This is what happened in school that may have caused him to feel anxious. And then a lot of times the school systems are very helpful. They'll coordinate a counselor or even the in-school counselor can help talk through certain things. Granted, in the United States today, that's a very privileged situation that you would be in a school system that would provide that.
Really?
Yeah. So when you get more towards lower class or inner city school systems, then there's lack of resources there to help with
For
those
that kind of
things.
thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Would you say that when they talk to the child and try to go through whatever trauma they're experiencing, try to process their thoughts, do you think that spoils them and make them feel entitled, or do you think that that actually helps them to heal from the trauma?
So I'm going to reference my best friend here. Her name's Ty. Shout out. I will say,
Big up yourself, Ty.
right? So she, honestly, if I was going to be a parent myself again, I would take so many notes from her. She is very, very good about disciplining in the moment. But then also when her kids come to her, they feel safe to come to her and say, hey, Mom, I'm feeling this way. They feel safe to cry on her shoulder. But her and I were FaceTiming last night, and she overheard her son saying something rude to his sister. And so she immediately interrupted our conversation and called him over and said, is that how we speak to girls? Is that how we speak to the people that we love? Is that how you speak to your sisters? So in the moment, disciplinary, we don't do that. But then at the same time, it could be 5-10 minutes later, and his sister ran over his foot with a chair and now he's crying, and so then she's consoling him. So I just honestly, I feel like there's a division that, or I keep using the word division. I don't like that word.
Diversity.
Right. There's a diversity in how people are parenting. And I really, really hope, just witnessing her and seeing how she is with her kids, that more people are handling things that way. I really feel like she is developing a relationship with them where it doesn't matter what the situation is, they're going to be able to come to her and say, hey, Mom, I'm not feeling well, or this is an issue. And she's raising them to be emotionally intelligent. And I think that also, emotional intelligence is getting a very high presence on social media right now. And I think the more that we focus on that and being emotionally intelligent and recognizing, oh, this is why I'm feeling this way, rather than just reacting on emotion, then we're going to see a change in that.
That was amazing. I feel like I have learned some different things today, because there are just several stigmas that are prominent. There's also a stigma that says, okay, in America or in other cultures, mental health is, met with open arms or being very welcoming, while in the Caribbean culture or in the African culture, we frown upon mental illness. While that may be true, what I learned today is that, everything is not, the grass is not like super greener on the other side. What it is that all of us, as the entire human race, you can get one, I'll carry one for you. What it Guys, I brought some bottles for Audrey, and she saw the bottles then, and she said, where I get that from? So I'm going to carry one for you next time I come. Right? So what I am learning is that the entire human race, we are literally just trying to be better people. In some microcultures, right? Fingers crossed. Woo! In some microcultures, it might take a little while because of different reasons. And in other microcultures, they may be ahead of the game. But the truth is, we're all trying to just make it. I don't know if you know the Jamaican national pledge. There's a part of it that says, and do my part in advancing the welfare of the whole human race. I don't know where that came to me, but it's actually a part of our national pledge that we do
really
our
good.
part. Hoping that this conversation kind of sheds some light on, even in different cultures, they still have, even though they might appear that they have everything together, there's still some similarities within the Caribbean and with American microcultures, that how we treated our kids, how we view mental illness. And I just hope that together we can break the stigma. Any questions from the audience? Any questions from you to me?
No.
Any last words? Any questions from the audience? And the other did them couldn't please them. Audience.
I feel like in Jamaica, they make mental health feel like it's contagious.
Right. Yes, absolutely. So that was such a good point. Big up Who your name again? Oh, don't give you no big up. She said don't give her no big up and her teeth straight like arrow, you know. So the audience wanted to make the point that in Jamaica, we sometimes make it look like mental health is contagious. So if someone is mentally ill, then we don't want to talk to them or we ostracize them.
Would that lead back to it being related to like the religious side of it?
Even outside of the religious side of it.
Because you had even mentioned like, oh, it could be like demonic possession.
Yes.
So don't be around them.
But it even is outside of that. Like sometimes we would say that that person is mad. I'm going to say it in Patois and then Conrad. That there's somebody that mad. Me no want you near on it because next thing the madness go rub off by you. That isn't necessarily rooted in religion. It's just rooted in fear and lack of understanding.
Bad company corrupts good character.
Exactly.
Type thing. Yeah.
Right. Now, whilst that might be true scientifically, because if you show me your friends.
Yeah, your mindsets are going to become who you hang out with.
But it's not contagious in the sense that if you go to help them, or if you ask them, hey, what's the matter, or if you sit down and have a conversation with them in an effort to help them, it's not going to be contagious. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Do you have that whole contagious thing here, or is it just
not like an outright verbal thought process? Not at all.
Okay?
No.
Well, thank you, audience, for highlighting a very stark difference. Now I'm depressed. I'm kidding. Any other questions from the audience?
No, this has been great. It's very interesting to see the differences, but then also how similar it is. Considering you thought it was vastly different.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. I came here expecting, oh yeah, because totally from wherever, from long time, we used to do this. That's a very bad accent. Not mocking you. I'm going to edit that because it's not nice. But thank you for tuning into the Unmuted podcast. Of course, we were talking about, mental health and the stigma associated with it in different cultures. And we got a brand new spanking, very open, unfiltered perspective of mental health, in the American culture versus the Jamaican Caribbean culture. I love you guys. See you next time. Bam! Lord, me time, me think me that things I'm gonna do more than one.
But I like how just like the chemistry you don't have, it's just different. It's like you don't have to write down a question for ask each other. It's just a flow.
Yeah.
It's very nice.
Lock off,
because we're both interested in it, so our brains go.
No, lock off. Yes, go on.
Yeah, so both of us like being interested in our brains are like, well, wait a second, like what about this?
Yes.
Yeah.